The idea that BTS could one day fracture has circulated for years, yet Jin's quiet confession exposes a reality far more unsettling and powerful. BTS does not survive because of fame, contracts, or momentum, but because its members have built a system of meaning so deeply internalized that breaking apart would mean dismantling their own identities. So what, exactly, did Jin reveal that makes this bond fundamentally unbreakable? What Jin shared was not a dramatic proclamation meant to reassure fans, but an unguarded admission that stripped away the polished mythology surrounding BTS and replaced it with something more enduring. He spoke not as a celebrity delivering a message, but as KimSeokpin, a man who has lived daily life under relentless pressure alongside 6 others, bound by responsibility rather than spectacle. His words carried weight precisely because they lacked performance. Gratitude, he explained, is not a feeling he accesses when convenient. It is a discipline that structures how he lives. Each morning, before schedules, before messages, before stepping into the public world, he acknowledges the existence of BTS as something that sustains him rather than something he controls. Inside his home, Jin has created a space that functions less like decoration and more like testimony. The photographs of RM, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook are not trophies of nostalgia, they are markers of survival. These images document not success alone, but continuity, evidence that the group endured moments when quitting was plausible and cohesion was fragile. The absence of Jin's own image in that space is revealing. It signals a deliberate refusal to center himself in a story he understands as collective. In an industry structured around individual branding, Jin's orientation towards shared memory becomes an act of resistance. This perspective reframes why BTS has remained intact through cycles that typically dismantle long-running groups. Jin articulated what many have speculated but rarely articulated so clearly. BTS is not an accident of chemistry, nor a product of strategic planning alone. It is the result of complementary human functions sustained over time. RM provides intellectual direction and moral grounding. Suga embodies honesty that confronts pain rather than conceals it. J-Hope converts discipline into momentum. Jimin operates as an emotional regulator, sensitive to shifts others might ignore. V preserves individuality within unity. Jungkook represents growth enabled by trust. Jin, as the eldest, assumes the burden of cohesion, even when that role is invisible and emotionally costly. What makes this dynamic unbreakable is not perfection, but maintenance. Jin's daily ritual of acknowledgement is not sentimental, it is structural. It reminds him that BTS is not a phase or a role, but a lived reality shaped by shared sacrifice. The trophies placed beside the photographs do not function as symbols of dominance or arrival. They are witnesses, evidence that recognition followed endurance, not the reverse. Every award is contextualized by sleepless nights, injuries, internal doubt, and moments when belief had to be borrowed from one another. This is why Jin's words resonated beyond fandom admiration. They revealed a form of leadership rarely visible in public narratives of success. His gratitude operates as armor, preventing resentment from taking root in an environment that routinely isolates individuals even within teams. When Jin describes the members as almost divine, he is not elevating them beyond humanity, but acknowledging that they carried him through moments the public will never fully see. In that framing, BTS is not sustained by ambition alone, but by mutual preservation. The reactions of the other members underscored this reality. Jungkook's familiarity with Jin's private space affirmed trust that exists beyond cameras. RM's quiet listening reflected leadership grounded in respect rather than control. Suga's restrained response conveyed understanding shaped by shared struggle. J-Hope's humor masked recognition of emotional weight. Jimin's visible sensitivity translated the moment into shared feeling, while V's silence absorbed it with characteristic depth. Each response completed a system that functions precisely because no single role dominates. As BTS continues forward, narratives predicting disintegration persist, often driven by external assumptions about time, success, or individual trajectories. Jin's story challenges those assumptions at their core. The longer BTS exists, the more intentional their internal bonds become. These bonds are not enforced by contracts, nor sustained by public demand, but renewed daily through acknowledgement of shared existence. This is why BTS will not break, not because they are immune to pressure, but because they have learned how to carry it together, quietly, repeatedly, and without spectacle. Yet, as this narrative circulates with increasing intensity, a more uncomfortable question must be confronted. Are we responding to a documented reality, or are we participating in a carefully amplified story shaped by emotion, repetition, and platform-driven urgency? When Jin's words are quoted, reframed, clipped, and redistributed across TikTok edits, YouTube thumbnails, and Twitter threads, do we pause to ask how much context has been preserved and how much has been reshaped to sustain attention? Consider how quickly reverence can transform into certainty. When a personal anecdote is elevated into a symbolic explanation for why BTS will never break, are we honoring the meaning of the moment or projecting our own desire for permanence onto it? Does believing in an unbreakable bond comfort us so deeply that we stop interrogating the conditions under which such stories emerge? And if so, who benefits when skepticism fades and emotion takes the lead? It is worth asking whether this account functions as evidence or interpretation. Jin's reflections, as presented, suggest discipline, gratitude, and cohesion, but do they constitute proof of an immutable future, or are they fragments of a larger, more complex human reality? Can a private ritual, however sincere, be responsibly used to draw absolute conclusions about an entire group's destiny? Or does doing so oversimplify the very humanity we claim to respect? The modern media environment complicates this further. Algorithms reward intensity, not nuance. A reflective statement becomes a headline. A quiet pause becomes a dramatic revelation. A personal value system is reframed as a definitive guarantee. When narratives are repeated often enough, do they become true or merely familiar? And how often do we mistake familiarity for verification? We must also examine our own role as audiences. When we share, comment, and emotionally invest, are we engaging critically, or are we amplifying what feels meaningful without checking its foundation? If a story aligns with what we want to believe about BTS, unity, loyalty, endurance, do we question it less? And if skepticism feels like betrayal, what does that say about the power dynamics between public figures, media narratives, and fan identity? This does not mean the story is false. It means it is unfinished. Information drawn from social media platforms is inherently fragmented, filtered through personal accounts, edits, and interpretations. TikTok prioritizes brevity and emotion. YouTube rewards narrative escalation. Twitter thrives on immediacy and reaction. None of these platforms are designed for verification. They are designed for circulation. Should we then treat viral narratives as conclusions or as prompts for further inquiry? Ask yourself, if the same story came from a lesser-known group, would we accept it with the same certainty? If the names were removed, would the narrative still feel indisputable, or would it invite doubt? And when media frames a moment as proof of permanence, is that journalism or emotional persuasion? A critical stance does not diminish admiration. On the contrary, it protects it. Skepticism allows us to appreciate meaning without surrendering discernment. Reflection enables us to hold space for sincerity while acknowledging uncertainty. It reminds us that public narratives, especially those built on fragments, require patience, context, and verification before belief.